there! I'm Jules. Nice to see you again. The word of the day today is manager. Now listen, don't be a Karen and ask for the manager unless you actually need to, because sometimes there are times you need to ask for the manager and you're not being a Karen. But just don't ask for one all the time. Okay? If you'd like to know why manager is the word of the day, watch some of my other videos and find out. Okay, so I know that I said I wasn't going to play As We Know It anymore, but I thought about it and I felt kind of bad just leaving off kind of in the middle of the story. I at least want to get an ending, maybe. I'm not going to try to do a bunch of endings or anything, but I just feel like it's kind of shitty of me to just leave on nothing. So we're gonna keep going, if that's okay with you. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. This is week 2, day 7. Let's get some romance. When I woke up, I saw that Mom was sitting at the table happily sewing. Since when do you sew? I know how to sew. I know that, but you hate to do it. Yet here you are, humming away. Oh, hush. What are you sewing, anyway? I'm patching up an old scarf. An old scarf? Which one? It's one of Rick's. He was thinking about donating it to the fabric stores, but I told him I could patch it up for him. Was that part of your job as his assistant? Oh, he told me not to bother, but I insisted. She was smiling, and I could tell she was now a lost cause. I sighed. There was no stopping it now. The intercom lit up, and a static-filled voice began an announcement. Camden Community Meeting, everyone! Please make your way to the community center as soon as possible! I looked at Mom, and she smiled. Are these going to be a weekly thing? I believe so. Come on, I've got to get there early and make sure everything is ready for Rick. Stay and procrastinate going. I'll be along in a bit. Suit yourself. Come later then. I will. I love procrastinating. Procrastinating. Jeez. She gathered herself and then left, sending me a curious glance. Then I was alone. I breathed a heavy sigh and fell back onto my bed. I could eat a slow meal, take a long shower, and even read in peace for a bit. I got back up and grabbed some fresh produce and ate, while I turned the shower on and got undressed. I didn't want to take any of this for granted, but I was starting to get used to the soft, juicy food. I hopped into the shower and laughed at the warm water. There were times now that I felt chilled. It was different from the cooler air on the surface when the sun went down. After I bathed, I felt clean. I could dry off with a towel that wasn't covered in sand, and changing into clothing didn't make me dirty again. I ate another apple and glanced through a pamphlet on the table. Last chance. Everyone, please make your way to the community center for the Camden Community Meeting. I groaned and stared at the intercom. The buzzing sound from the speaker was really getting on my nerves. So the meeting, should I go or not? I guess it's time to go. Mom was by the mayor, who had his freshly darned scarf draped around his throat. He was smiling at Mom while preparing to step onto the stage. The room was filled with people, and I grabbed a cup of coffee and sat near the back. Good afternoon, everyone! It always brings me so much joy to see all of your faces on a day like this. First, let me update everyone on last week's news. The Career Festival was a success. All of our new residents have joined a career and should be fitting in nicely. Resource production is steady as usual, and other than some stormy weather on the horizon, everything appears peaceful on the surface. He began to drone on and on, talking about all kinds of things I knew nothing about. Announcements and upcoming events I could just read about on the bulletin board. I rubbed the bridge of my nose and sipped my coffee. Hopefully this meeting would be over soon. Eventually, he got off the stage and went straight to my mother. I perked up and watched him pat his scarf and say something to her with a smile. Who is that? I don't know. Do you think our eligible mayor has finally decided to settle down? They giggled like girls several years younger than them. It looks like she's just his secretary or whatever. In all the years we've lived here, have you heard even the smallest rumor about him and a special someone? I stood up and left. I couldn't stomach to hear any more. Mom could meet me at home later. For now, I needed to go home. I just needed to get out of that crazy cluster of people. I walked back and strongly considered just laying in bed, but then I'd end up waiting for her to come home. I had some time to do something before the day was over. I guess gym. I think I did the library the last time. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the gym today. There were a few things I could do. Hang out with Tabby. Sure, I can do a little kid voice. I saw Tabby sitting alone. She was leaning against the wall with her eyes closed. Maybe she was taking a nap. As I approached Tabby, her eyes opened and she looked over at me. What? This is a strange place to take a nap. She shrugged her shoulders and crossed her arms. Do you hang out here a lot? I guess. I like to come here and work out. Your dad's got a pretty hard rule about fitness for his security officers. I know. You came here from the surface, right? It dawned on me that Tabby was probably born here. Yeah, does sand still shake out of my hair? I ran a hand through my hair and made a show of looking for sand. A little bit might actually have come out. Tabby smiled. No. What's it like up there? My dad won't tell me. He won't tell you? She sighed and rolled her eyes. He says it doesn't matter, because I'll never go there. Then people like you come here, and I don't know why people can't go back up there. Unless they're bad? I blinked as she kept attempting to rationalize it. Were you bad, but then good, so they let you come back? I was born up there. Were your parents bad? No, at least I don't think so. Most people come from the surface. Cities like these are hard to come by. Really? Yeah. She nodded. I wasn't sure what it would be like to grow up down here. She really had no idea what it was like on the surface. I couldn't help but wonder what that was like. Okay, you didn't look like you had been exiled for something. I hope I never get exiled. Tabby smiled at me shyly. I'll tell my dad not to exile you, no matter what. If you play ball with me. Ball? Yeah, it's a game. I'll show you how to play. She stood up and grabbed a small, heavy ball. She then proceeded to teach me a weird set of rules involving catching and throwing the ball. I did not understand, but that only seemed to amuse her. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay, I didn't even get one with Tabby. Okay, I got 3 sons on standing though. Alright, I guess. Week 3, day 1? Okay. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. Of course you did. It was just another day on the security force. I wrote down citizen complaints and sent them to the right security officer for assistance if it was needed. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Okay, so at this point, nothing in the plot really is happening, which is why I was like, I'm bored. I guess it's all about making my relationships. But it's like, how am I supposed to know which one to go to? Like, nothing was happening really at the gym. I guess Tabby was there, but I'm just gonna go in order. So I went to the gym last time, I'll go to Icarus this time. Like, I don't know what else to do. As I walked in, I heard a loud and familiar laugh. I looked over and saw Iris with one hand on Vince's arm and the other on her hip. Vince seemed nervous and was glancing around the room. Darling, I just feel so much safer that you're the one in charge of protecting us. Yeah, that's my job. Why don't you let me buy you a drink, I'm working, Iris. I can't. Oh, come on. The boss don't have to know. She winked at him. I don't want to interrupt. I shrugged and decided to mind my own business. I found an empty booth and sat down. I waited for Sam to take my drink and finally saw Vince peel away from Iris out of the corner of my eye. I don't want to interrupt I was going to say an adult conversation. I'm an adult. So I could have interrupted it. I don't know if my character is an adult, though. She appeared to be pouting about it and slumped into a seat near me. I tried to be invisible, but it didn't work. Aw, shoot. All the good men in this place ain't got a lick of sense. I tried to smile, shrug, and get up to walk away. Well, come on, hon. Don't just stand there. Let me buy you a drink. Me? Yes, you. Am I looking at anyone else, sugar? Oh, thanks, but I have to go. Sam hadn't taken my order, so now was a good time to leave. Oh, poor Iris. Dang. Rude. She reminds me of the adult version of Lottie from Princess and the Frog. At least my voice. Maybe that's where that's coming from. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Nothing. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I headed into work. Everything seemed pretty quiet today. I checked what my daily duty was and found that I got to enjoy yet another day full of paperwork. I sat at my desk and started to go through everything and sort it for filing. Ava had been right. Paperwork was boring. Still, it was less tedious than cleaning sand out of the air filters. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Of course you did. Library. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the library today. There were a few things I could do. Well, last time I tried to see what Trevor was up to and he wasn't even... No, he was talking to that guy, so I'll check out a book this time. What book did I want to borrow today? There were a lot to pick from. Horror. I considered the options for a moment and then chose Zombie Holmes and the Giant Crabs. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Nothing. Are the days gonna be like this? Are they all gonna be like this? I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. It was just another day on the security force. I did target practice in preparation for my monthly exam. I was starting to get better. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. The gym. Nothing exciting was happening at the gym. Okay. I walked in and heard some loud thuds and grunting. Uh-oh. Sam was beating the shit out of a punching bag. She wasn't wearing any gear, and her hands looked a little red. I don't remember Sam's voice. I'm gonna stay away. I gave Sam her space and headed home. I didn't want to try to work out in the gym when she was clearly trying to work out some issues. I made a quick exit. As I walked out, I could hear the intensity of her punches pick up. I probably should have stayed and talked to her, but I don't really care about my relationship with her. I literally haven't seen any of the romantic people at all. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Nothing. Not like I'd expect it to be. Oh shit. The world rattled and roared. A siren began to blare through the intercom system, and I could hear it echo throughout all of the other homes. A level 5 dust storm has hit the surface. Please stay where you are until further notice. Oh damn. A level 5? Mom was sitting up, her arms wrapped around herself. The ground trembled. I could hear the water moving in the pipes due to air pressure changes. A level 5? That meant massive tornadoes of dust and fire. Everything in its path would get destroyed within miles. Mom was safe. I was safe. We were underground. But what about... Ava! Mom got out of bed and sat at the table, clasping her hands together tightly and rocking back and forth slightly. I went to her side and tried to think. What should we do? Said stay where you are. We're gonna stay where we are. The annoying alarm was right. The safest thing would be to stay underground. Maybe we should try going to the community center. I thought we were supposed to stay here? Yes, but the community center is always open, especially in times like this. It's a good place to go to get information. Her eyes seemed distant, but it made sense. There was another tremor. Okay. Maybe the community center would be better than here? We stepped out into the hallway, and Mom was right. A few people were heading that way. There was a small crowd here, and water had been set out. People sat together and seemed to be seeking comfort and company. When I glanced around, I saw Jude and Gloria. Great. Gloria was handing out water and blankets. Jude was sitting on the floor by himself. Maybe I should check on one of them. Mom put a hand on my shoulder. I'm going to help hand out things, okay? All right. Guess I'll talk to Jude. He's my second choice after Ava. Jude, you're here? Jude looked up at me and nodded. I sat beside him. I really want a cigarette. Are you drunk? A little. I'm trying to sober up. I wanted to sleep through the storm, but I just couldn't. Even alcohol didn't help. Where's Sam? She locked herself in the storage room at Icarus. Storms bring up a lot of bad memories for me and Sam. My heart sank a little. Jude moved away from me a bit and brought his knees up to his chest. He looked so tired, but I didn't know how to help him, so I just sat with him. There was a loud roar above us, and the room shook slightly. Everyone paused, and it became so quiet you could hear sand move. Then someone entered the room, their face flushed as they shouted to kill the silence. Distraught person. They kept the doors closed! Really? Even now? They won't let anyone in! There was a small uproar building amongst everyone in the room. Then there was another tremor. Everyone fell silent again, but this time it was much heavier. I glanced at Jude, but his eyes were closed and he was frowning. I looked towards Gloria and her lips were parted. She stared up towards the noise, her brow scrunched with curiosity. The distant roar continued, and I just felt cold. My former neighbors, the grouchy old man who lived in the old motorhome in the center of town, the kids, orphans who stayed in the repurposed church with the young couple who were too sweet for their own good, that old lady who never seemed to know where she was, but was pleased to be there anyway, the woman who stole my CD player and then denied it when I confronted her, the small group of militia who pretended to protect the town from the Sandmen, the traitors, bitter and suspicious, the broken families that had formed new ones, that guy down the way who always gave us extra food when he had it. I could see their faces flashing through my memories. The storm will have knocked out most of the town. Without power, a lot of those people would be dead by midday. They could try to find shelter. Once the storm passed, they'd need to find somewhere to wait out the hottest hours of the day. Maybe they could get the power going again. Or maybe someone would share a generator that still worked. If the storm hadn't wiped everything out. The room shook again. Before I knew what was happening, Mom had taken me by the hand. She led me home. I got into bed and closed my eyes. I didn't want to think. If the doors had been opened, there would be a flood of people here right now. They'd probably wanted to conserve energy and resources for Camden, but I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do. Maybe there wasn't enough to go around? I really didn't know. All of those people were either dead, or else they would be soon. Well, I mean, you could make arguments for both. The doors should have been opened, yeah, to save lives, sure. But this place, the settlement can't take unlimited amounts of people, or else then nobody's going to live for very long, because they'll run out of supplies and room and very quickly. I think they should have stayed closed to keep the town. The town accepts new people when they can, like me and my mom. So, I mean, they do what they can. Who knows what might have happened if they'd opened the doors. We may have all wound up dead. That's what I'm saying. Eventually, my eyes closed and I fell asleep. I got up and headed out to grab a cup of coffee before I work. The security center was unusually quiet. Busy, but quiet. All I could hear was the shuffle of papers. I was looking around when I saw Vince. Our eyes met and he walked over to me. How are you holding up, Jules? As well as anyone else, I suppose. Some of our officers stayed home today. Leave if you need to. Yesterday it was hard. You sure it's okay for us not to be here today? Plenty of people volunteered to stay and work today. It evens out. I glanced around and couldn't help but notice Ava was missing. So are you staying or going? If you need to take some time, then do it. We need everyone in top form. I can't have any of you stretching yourselves too thin. I'll go home. Ava's not even here. I'll go home then, try to get my head on straight. Alright, go get some rest. Vince nodded and left me to get my things together so that I could leave. Are you serious? That was the whole day? It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Ugh. There wasn't any work to do today, so maybe I could try to see someone. Ava! I sat at the table and stared down at a puzzle my mother had cluttered our space up with. With everything going on, the cartoon character smiling up at me just got on my nerves. There was a buzz at the door, making me jump. Shit! I stood up and eyed the door. My fingers felt itchy. I took a deep breath and tried to remind myself where I was. Thankfully, where I was. Oh, I see. Thankfully, where I was. I opened the door slowly, still feeling cautious. Jules? Oh, Ava, it's you. I opened the door wider and let her inside. She was wearing her casual clothes and looked really tired. Sorry, I just couldn't be alone. I figured you'd be here. She shrugged. Sure, what's wrong? She placed her hands over her ears and scrunched up her face. I can still... Damn it! She hopped and sat at the table, falling hard into the chair and scattered puzzle pieces everywhere. Fuck, I'm so sorry. She bent down to pick them up. I helped her and tried to figure out what to say. I hate that thing. Mom started putting it together, but now she's never around to finish it. So it just sits there. Jules, do you think what the mayor did, what he decided, was right? Letting all of those people die? She looked up at me. Her eyes were a little red, and I could see the tears start to form. My chest felt heavy, and I had to say something. I don't want her to hate me. I mean, it's a hard subject. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what our situation would be if he had let everyone in. I know. You're right. She looked down at her hands for a moment before resuming the tedious task of gathering the puzzle pieces. She sighed heavily and stood up. She forced a smile on her face and placed a hand on my shoulder. Want to finish this stupid-ass puzzle? No, but if it was completed, I could glue it together and put it away. Sure. Ava sat down with me and we began to work out the puzzle. I swear, the mayor has a million of these damn things. Mom loves them. She glues them when they are all together and sets them out like art. Ava shrugged. I guess it's better than looking at a blank wall. Yeah, I suppose. Ava began to hum and we fell silent. I didn't know the song, but it was nice to just sit and relax with her after everything that had happened. When it was finally complete, Ava slapped in the last piece, and I commented on how truly hideous it was. Ava laughed and left. She seemed to go in better spirits than she had come, which made me happy. I also felt a bit better. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. I only still have one heart with Ava. Come on. I'm already on week 3. This is about to be week 4. How? There was a town hall meeting today in the community center. I glanced at Mom, who was fretting over her hair. I'm guessing the mayor wants to discuss what happened? Mom lowered her arms and deflated a little. It was so awful. I'm so glad we made it to Camden when we did. She turned around and appeared to study me. It was a tragedy, an awful tragedy. I can't help but focus on my appreciation that you and I are safe. She grasped her hands together and pulled them close to her chest. They trembled slightly. If you're hoping I know what Rick plans to say, I don't. I'm guessing he will try to explain himself, justify what he did. Do you think he did the right thing? She frowned and dodged my question. I don't know. What do you think about what he did? It sucks, but he did what he had to do. I'm glad we were both safe in here too. Mom smiled and pulled me into her arms, stroking my hair. I'd let the whole world burn to keep you safe. She kissed the top of my head. My baby. I'm not a baby. You'll always be my baby. Such a mom thing to say. She ruffled my hair and went back to messing with hers. She didn't seem to have a solid opinion, or at least want to share it with me if she did. I knew better than to try to get it out of her. I didn't know anyone better at redirecting the conversation than her. We finished getting ready and then left to go to the community center. The room was fuller than I had ever seen it. Despite this, it was quiet. I saw the mayor at the stage, speaking to someone. Mom squeezed my shoulder and moved to join him. I needed to find a seat and saw a few people I recognized. Ava! The mayor walked towards the podium and gently tapped the mic. The speakers thudded unpleasantly. On this sad occasion, I have gathered you all here to discuss what happened a few days ago. The room was still silent. His voice echoed against the walls. It was a horrible tragedy, and I had to make hard choices. Choices that would allow Camden, all of you, to thrive or fall. He began to outline a list of all the reasons he had kept the doors closed. Limited supplies, the dangers of the storm, potential for security threats, and he continued. Exactly. Ava crossed her arms and leaned close to me. Bullshit. He's so full of it. What do you mean? He murdered all of those people. He's no better than the Sandmen. Survival for the strong, slaughter for the weak. She whispered, but her words were angry. You really think so? You don't? No. It was an awful decision, but it had to be made. I'm just glad I was on the right side of the doors. She blinked, but then nodded. That's a way to see it, I guess. Ava rolled her shoulders, and the mayor's words suddenly grabbed my attention again. Now, I know many of you are feeling scared and uncertain. I'll ask you all to trust me. Camden is my priority, and I wouldn't do anything to put our community in danger. There was an empty threat in the air. His words alone seemed harmless, but his tone darkened on the last sentiment. I looked at Mom, but she was busy jotting some things down. I looked around at the room, still eerily quiet. No one seemed to have anything more to say. There was an odd tension in the air that I couldn't really seem to shake. I wanted to leave, go home. When I looked around, I saw that I wasn't the only one squirming in my seat. Know that I am here for all of you. Camden is here for you. He left the podium and was immediately surrounded by people who wanted to ask him questions. I was not one of those people, so I headed home. I had some time to do something before the day was over. Icarus! Nothing particularly interesting was going on at Icarus today. There were a few things I could do. Just try to relax. Sparkling rum with mint. Something minty sounded good right now. I ordered a hard water and sat at the bar by myself. Oh, okay. It's getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. No! I lost my heart with Ava. Okay, but what are you supposed to do? You can't just let all those people in. You can't just let all these random people in. That's not how a settlement works. You don't have unlimited supplies. You don't have unlimited space. Ava, what the F? This game is not worth playing anymore. Ava hates me. Can you get negative hearts? Because that's probably what I have. I thought we were fine when we played the puzzle. Everything was fine. Rip. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I joined the security force for Ava. Now she hates me. It was just another day on the security force. I swept, dusted, and sorted through recycling. Shredding anything that required it. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Library. I walked into the library and I was caught off guard by Gloria's presence. She smiled brightly when she saw me. Jules! Oh, Gloria, hi. Hey, come here. I want to show you something. You do? I followed after her as she led me towards the back of the library. Once there, she began to whisper. Distract Trevor for me. What? Go up there and talk to him for a bit. Then when I go up there, we gotta leave. What? Come on, it'll be funny. Okay. Alright. She smiled and shooed me away, so I walked back to the counter. I almost made it to Trevor when there was a loud crash. We both froze, and Trevor swore and headed towards the noise. Brian was close behind him. Gloria appeared, looking flushed. Trevor stopped to eye her suspiciously. I think one of the wall displays was loose. I bumped into it and it toppled right over. Trevor ignored her, and Brian only shrugged as they left to take care of it. Gloria grabbed my arm and led me outside. That's what you wanted to do? No! My plan backfired. It's too bad. It was going to be so funny when you went to check out the display later. She pouted and kicked at the ground. What were you going to do? Arrange the books to spell something out. She smiled at me. Don't ask what it would have been. You'll have to find out eventually when I can manage the prank again. Uh-huh. I'll just use my imagination. See you around, Jules. She left and I was alone. I headed home feeling a little extra tired. I might just eat an apple and go to sleep. It was getting late. It's time for bed. This is monotonous, man. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. Of course I did. I walked into work. I checked the board. I was assigned to patrol. This meant I had to walk around and create a presence, or whatever. I looked up what my assigned route was and grabbed my gear. As I walked through the halls, I was stopped by almost everyone. They smiled. They waved. It was unnerving. I expected people to be ducking back into their homes, or at least avoiding eye contact. So strange. I thought people would react differently to me when I was wearing the security force uniform. And they were, but not in the way I thought they would. I tested their trust by taking the baton in hand, but even then, no one seemed afraid. An older man even mimicked me with his walking cane, as if in comradeship. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Gym. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the gym today. There were a few things I could do. I'll hang out with freaking Tabby. Tabby was off by herself again. Is there nothing for you to do? Why are you always here? I'm not always here. Why are you always here? I don't have an answer. There aren't a lot of kids my age, so when Dad works, I either study stuff or hang out wherever. I like the gym. There's all the windows to see the plants. Oh, the greenhouse. Yeah. So what do you study? Mathematics and stuff. I'm not sure what career I want yet. I guess security officer would be cool. Like your dad? And you, I guess. Sure. I think I'd rather work with the plants, though. I like food. Huh, you could study botany or whatever. Plant stuff. Maybe we could sneak in sometime. Really? Yeah, just don't tell your dad. I don't want to get exiled because we looked at some plants. Okay, I won't. Don't tell a kid not to tell their parent something, like, oh my god. She smiled and I sat with her a bit longer to chat. She told me about all the different things she studied and all the jobs she was interested in. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. I don't even have one with Tabby, and that's the second interaction I've had with her, like, actually. Okay, alright. I got up and grabbed a coffee before work. It was just another day on the security force. I filed old reports and cycled out the ones that were too old to be addressed in the future. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Icarus. When I walked in, I didn't see Sam anywhere. I did see a kid reaching behind the bar to grab a bottle of vodka. Our eyes met and he went pale. What kid? What are you doing? The kid didn't answer. He ran from the bar, leaving the bottle behind. What the hell was that about? That kid was going after the bottle of vodka. I pointed to where the kid had been reaching. Sam pinched the bridge of her nose. Damn it, I'm gonna have to yell at his father again. Fucking hell. You know who he is? Yeah, you'd think that would be a deterrent, but I guess not. Why is he trying to steal vodka? No fucking clue. You want a drink or what? Yeah, hard water, please. She nodded and resumed her post behind the bar. Okay. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Man, have I always had a heart with Micah? Or am I just now noticing that? Pretty sure I have not always had a heart with Micah. But I am sad that I lost my heart with Ava. What the heck? All my hard work. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. We were a bit short-staffed because of some kind of stomach bug going around. So I ran around like crazy. We all did. We were all just trying to pick up the slack. Luckily, I hadn't caught it. Every now and then I glanced nervously at the paperwork that was starting to pile up higher and higher. It would be there, waiting. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Library. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the library today. There were a few things I could do. Let's see what Trevor's up to. I walked in and saw Brian making Trevor laugh. I stumbled at the sight, knocking into a table and disturbing a display. They both looked over at me, and Trevor's mirth died immediately. What do you want? I gave the table a careful tap and tried to put the display back as it had been. I failed. Trevor, she's probably here to borrow a book. Whatever. Get one and get out. I must have imagined seeing Trevor amused. The scowl on his face seemed much more natural. Don't be so unfriendly. That's... What? I literally didn't do anything. What? What? That was super weird. Don't be so unfriendly. That's why no one but me ever comes here. That was so weird. Brian's voice was dripping with flirtation, and Trevor blushed and crossed his arms. I'm gonna leave Trevor alone. He's a jerk. I rolled my eyes and decided to ignore Trevor. I just came for a book. Ooh, a comedy. I grabbed Owlful Partner to borrow and left. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. It was just another day on the security force. I worked in the armory, taking inventory and signing things out as needed. Same old, same old. Work was over, and I had some time to kill. Jim. Ava hates me, and there's no point in this life. I walked in and saw Jude on the other side of the windows. He was in the greenhouse. I approached him and tapped on the glass. He turned and gave me a small wave. I started to turn away, but he held up some blueberries in his hand, which immediately caught my attention. He chuckled. I couldn't hear it, but I could see the motion. He pointed to a side door, something that would normally be locked, and started to walk that way. I met him there. Here, don't tell. Well, anyone? I guess? It's not like Brian will notice or care. Wow, thanks. I popped the little berries into my mouth. They were juicy and sweet. Amazing! Throw all the contraband fruit at me that you want. He smirked. I will if you pass me any tech you find. Deal. Jude smiled and gave me a friendly nod. He ducked back behind the door and I went back to the gym. Alright, I guess I'll go with Jude. There wasn't any work to do today, so maybe I could try to see someone. Ava hates me. I don't think Ava's gonna want to talk to me. I guess I'll go talk to Jude. I walked out into the hallway and ran into Jude. Oh, hey. Hi. So, see ya. Wait, I'm bored. What are you doing? Maybe I can tag along. Or not? No, it's just... Sure, come on. I followed him as he walked toward the library. You like to read? Not especially, but I'm looking for something specific. What's that? I'm trying to identify this strange thing that I have. A strange thing? Yeah. And where did you get a strange thing? When the scouts go out to scavenge from the ruins, they bring back all kinds of junk. I pick through and grab anything interesting. They let you do that? No, so don't tell anyone. Oh, okay. I followed him through the shelves, and he began to poke through the ones with technical information. What does it look like? Not like anything here. He picked up a book and paged through it. Does whatever it is work? Sort of. I don't know. I can't tell what it's supposed to do, and if it's doing it. It has a screen and a lot of buttons. Jude paused and put the book away, his shoulders slumping forward somewhat. Even then, the battery I put in won't last much longer. Sounds interesting. He looked at me for a moment. Jules, want to see something really cool? Yeah, obviously. He gave me a small smile and then tugged my arm to lead me out of the library. Well, I guess he's not bad. He led me to the greenhouse and back into a corner where he kept a lot of things. Look. I looked down at it and then back at him. Open it. It's a music box. I carefully lifted the lid, then heard a soft and warped chirping. A small coil inside the box began to move. Wow, cool! I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. Really? I find them a lot, but they hardly ever work. I shook my head and closed the lid. What a strange song it was playing. Perhaps it had been warped by heat. I'm starting to think you're some kind of criminal. He shrugged. I guess you could think that if you want. I'm only teasing. I know. He looked down at some oily pieces of metal on his desk and began to sort them. I opened my mouth to speak and break the awkwardness, but he beat me to it. He began to tell me about all the various components he had collected and what they did. After some time, I headed back home. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Alright, so I have a heart with Jude, and I don't want a heart with Micah. Alright, give it up for day 7, week 4. A groan from the bathroom woke me up. I leaned up and glanced around, trying to shake the fuzziness of sleep. Mom? Another groan answered me. She was in the bathroom. I thought the bug had almost completely run its course through the community, but Mom must have gotten it last. I was starting to feel really thankful that I hadn't caught it. You all right in there? The door cracked open just wide enough for Mom's hand to poke through and point at the table. Tell Rick I'm sick, please. I wrote him a note. Make sure he gets it, okay, honey? Sure, Mom, but maybe I should stay home and... No, I'd rather you didn't. Just go and give Rick my note. She shut the door before I could argue. Obviously, she would hear me through the door, but I got the message. I grabbed the note. It was folded and taped, and my mother's handwriting graced the front. She had only written Rick, and it made me sigh. I wasn't sure she should be so openly casual with the mayor, but I guess there was no stopping her now. I got dressed and grabbed the note and headed out the door. I was still early, so the hallways weren't too crowded. The note felt heavy in my hands, and it felt awkward walking around with it. What had my mom even written down in it? It had to be boredom, but I felt very compelled to read it. Maybe it would give me insight into what was going on between her and the mayor. It wasn't like it would seem strange for the letter to be sealed a bit sloppily, especially if she was sick. Open it! I had to know. I glanced around, but no one was looking at me. I carefully peeled the tape and opened the letter. Camila. Rick, I'm not feeling well. I'm so sorry, but I'll go to you as soon as I'm better. It's just that bug that's been going around. Her name was signed at the bottom. That was it. I resealed the letter and tried not to feel like an idiot. There'd been no reason for me to bother with it. When I got to the community center, the doors were open. I spotted the mayor up by the stage, so I headed over to hand him the note. Here, Mr. Mayor, from Mom. I handed him the note. He eyed the tape for a second before opening the letter to read it. Thank you, Jules. Do you think your mother will mind if I come by to... I don't know if that's a good idea. She really isn't feeling well. Right. Give her my, He cleared his throat. Let Camila know that I hope she feels better soon, Jules. I will. I backed up and walked back into the crowd. I ignored the few glances that were shot my way. After a few moments, he stood to address the community. Wait. Okay. I'm happy to announce that the stomach bug that's been going around this week seems to have died down. Despite the discomfort, know that the worst is over and the illness was not dangerous. Steps have been taken to prevent this from happening again, and I must continue to ask that if you aren't feeling well, then please confine yourself to your quarters. This will help prevent the spread of it. He started to make some general announcements, but some people near the front started to speak up and shout. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but then the mayor responded. Right, I know many of you are still concerned about what happened on the surface. When it is safe, I will send out couriers to gauge the situation. Until then, it is in Camden's best interest to carry on. The people at the front who had been shouting didn't look appeased, but the mayor assured them he would speak to them personally. I was curious about it, but at the same time, I wanted to get out of here. I could check on Mom and then make myself scarce when she recovered. I had some time to do something before the day was over. Icarus. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in Icarus today. There were a few things I could do. Hang out with Sam. Sam looked unusually busy today. I walked in and close enough for her to nod at me and then start to complain. I am so damn behind. The mayor needs to give me an assistant or something. Fuck. Yeah, running this place alone must be hard. Yeah, but I'm just bitching. This ain't nothing compared to what I was running on the surface. At least here I don't have to serve the occasional Sandman or Warlord. I shuddered. That must have been awful. I can help you clean up if you like. Sam glanced at me, eyebrow raised. Then she pointed towards a sink of dirty dishes. I'm not about to stop you. Help yourself. I ran the water and started to wash the dishes. It was mostly glass and pitchers, so it was easy. There was just a lot of it. As time crawled on, patrons had begun to leave. It grew quieter and quieter, and then it was only me and Sam. Icarus gets pretty busy at night. It's crazier on the weekends. Makes sense. Crowds are nowhere near as bad as my old place. It didn't even have a name, just the bar. Really? I was set up in a small outpost town between the cities, at least until the Sandman came and trashed the place. A warlord? Yeah, they fucked everything. She gritted her teeth and began to wipe down the counter furiously. People were killed. She slammed her fist on the table and then buried her face in her hands. Thanks for the chat. You can go now. Her voice was a whisper. Sam? Just go. I backed away and left. She looked ready to throw stuff at me. I must have brought up some bad memories. It's getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Wait, why do I have a heart with Gloria now? And not with Sam, but with Gloria? That doesn't make any sense. And my heart with Ava is gone forever. My standing went down, I think. What? Am I wrong for my opinion on the doors being closed? For real? Because if you can change my mind, I'm open to it. But I feel like that was not the wrong decision to make. I got up and headed out to grab a cup of coffee before work. We are in week 5. It was just another day on the security force. I wrote down citizen complaints and sent them to the right security officer for assistance if it was needed. Same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Library. The library was really busy tonight. I saw Trevor surrounded by children and looking overwhelmed. I glanced around, but I didn't see Brian anywhere. I'd never seen so many kids in one place, and I had no idea why they were all here now. What's going on? Trevor grimaced, but actually seemed relieved to see me. Miss Miller thought it would be a good idea to have a story time. I suppose she assumed I would cooperate. I almost felt bad for him. Kids were pushing large picture books into his hands and tugging at his shirt. Some books fell from their shelves, followed by a small voice saying, "Oops," and I could see Trevor grinding his teeth. I guess I'll help. With a heavy sigh, I decided to help Trevor out. I grabbed one of the books that had been shoved at him and got the kids to follow me. I took them to the back and read through several books until parents began to filter in and take their kids home. When they were finally gone, I leaned back and closed my eyes. That had been exhausting. They're gone. I know. You can go now, too. I opened my eyes, but there wasn't any cruelty in his face. You're welcome, Trevor. Yeah, thanks. Why wasn't Brian here? This seemed like something he'd love to do. Trevor shrugged and walked away, ending the conversation. With him gone, I had nothing left to do. I headed home without a book. I was pretty tired anyway. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. No change. Alright, I think my standing went back up. I walked in and went to look... Wait. Did it skip? Did it skip my morning thing? Okay. I walked in and went to look at the board. I learned my daily assignment, changed, and was starting to suit up when Vince came into the center of the room and shouted, "I need everyone's attention!" We all fell silent and looked at him. "I've got a call that something is going on at the community center. We are needed to go and help keep the peace. People are protesting, and as long as they do it peacefully and the mayor allows it, our duty is to only act if things escalate." There was a soft murmur as Vince began to shout orders at who was meant to stay and who was needed to go. I was called to go, and so was Ava. We were handed gear and sent out. I felt lost, but I did as I was told. A protest? I'd never heard of people doing such a thing. What were they protesting? My best guess was that it involved the storm somehow. The crowd grew as more people began to come in, either to join the protest or watch. Everyone was shouting, with a few up on the stage. The speakers weren't turned on, but you could still hear what they were saying. The mayor is murdering those people. He can't take some in, temporarily. What about the children and elderly? He's practically killing them himself. The crowd cheered and shouted similar ideas. We all have family and friends out there, don't we? Is it okay for us to sit safe in here while all those people die? More people began to speak up, either to agree or to argue. You're a fool! We don't have the food or resources to support so many people. What about our children? Would you have them go hungry? What if we let in Sandmen spies? They should have been better prepared for the storm. How long has it been since you were on the surface? No one can prepare for that kind of storm and power outage. Arguments started to get heated, and everyone was starting to get antsy. The room was rumbling with energy. The protesters wanted to open the doors, now, and help anyone who was left. They wanted to find their left-behind loved ones. They wanted news. A booming voice at the entrance caught everyone's attention. The mayor stepped forward. Everyone paused and felt quiet as he moved through the crowd. He simply walked, and the crowd parted for him. His face was unreadable. When he reached the stage, he grabbed a mic, and the speaker suddenly sparked to life. I understand there's been unrest with Camden. It pains me to hear you fight like this. Are we no better than the lawless warlords that prey on the weak? Every choice I make for Camden. I have refused sending aid, because we cannot spare it. I have refused to open the doors, because we do not have the ability to support the consequences of that action. I must plead with you all, beg you, to trust me. Trust that I make no decision without carefully considering how it will affect you, how it will affect our children, our loved ones, our lifeline. When you were accepted into Camden, each and every one of you, you became a part of my family. I will do what it needs to be done. I always will, so that we can all thrive together. He paused and glanced around the room. The energy seemed to settle, but I could still see some people weren't being so easily pacified. When the time is right, I will send couriers to assess the situation on the surface. Then, if anything can be done without hurting Camden in the process, know that I will do it. Also know that I will never do anything to put Camden in any danger. He took a deep breath and opened his arms wide to the crowd. I am here now, if any of you wish to discuss the choices I have made. Now is the time to approach me. He set down a mic, and Vince moved to stand beside him on the stage. People were hesitant at first, but then either began to leave or line up. An order was passed down to me that I should return to my previous duties, so I reluctantly left. I couldn't even remember what my assignment had been. I'd have to check the board again. I couldn't believe people were protesting what the mayor had done. He had done the most logical thing, even if it wasn't the kindest. The mayor had to consider everyone down here first. I nibbled on my lip and tried to fight the twisting doubt pulling at my mind. He had made the right choice, hadn't he? I still think it was the right choice. Is that the logical thing, to take care of what you have around you first? Is it? Isn't that not the logical thing to do? Screwing with the fragile balance of Camden's resources would have spelled disaster for everyone. The door should have stayed closed. I tried to shake the darker thoughts away and focus on what I needed to do. Now wasn't the time to get lost in my own mind. There was work to do. I returned to check my assignment and then got to work with some paperwork. As I worked, people came in and left with good frequency. When Vince finally returned, he called a meeting, so we all gathered to see what he had to say. Ava sidled up next to me, looking tense and distracted. Ava hates me now, it's fine. Things are tense now. We need to double down on our presence within the community. They need to know that they are safe. I don't like this. She hadn't really spoken to anyone, and when I glanced over, she was looking down at her hands and scowling. Ava, like it or not, it's our responsibility to keep the peace. Ava looked up at him, frowning. Yes, sir. He seemed satisfied and then began to outline a new plan of action for similar occurrences. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay, so nothing changed. Oh, okay. I think I'm gonna pause it here. I was about to stop playing like forever, but now it's starting to pick up, so I guess I will do another one. I will. I'm really bummed that Ava hates me, but I guess I can go with Jude. He seems to be a lot nicer than I previously thought, and Ava hates me for my opinions. Honestly though, if I'm in the wrong, please tell me. Would you not help your community first? Like, is your community not the first priority before you help people outside of the community? If everyone in your community is not taken care of, Why would you help someone outside of them, outside of the community? Because you need to take care of everyone around you first. Am I right? That to me is the most logical thing. And I am all about logic. What is the most logical thing to do? What makes the most sense? What's the most efficient thing to do? That's all about me. I don't really think about emotions. That's like the second thing. Like, obviously, yes, it would be great to help people. But logically, it makes the most sense to keep taking care of our community first as the first priority. But I would love to hear other opinions on that, because I'm open to different opinions. So I'm gonna stop playing, and I will keep playing this. It's getting interesting. So thank you so much for playing with me, and I will see you later.